Hi, I'm Paul Donovan here, and welcome to AV Technician, the channel on YouTube for AV technicians' tips and tricks. Have you ever received an email from a client saying, "We're planning a meeting on March 1st. What equipment do we need?" Yes, many events come to us starting out that way. The client comes and says, "We're having a meeting, what do we need?" And of course, we know nothing. We don't know the venue. We don't know how many people. That's how a lot of events come in to us initially. If you want to follow this channel more, you might want to click on subscribe. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and feel free to leave comments in the description box below. So, I'm going to get up on my soapbox for this video. I'm going to be talking about one of my, I'll call it pet peeves as a show technician. You can take it as just a soapbox thing, or you can take it with and realize that you need to do something more as a show technician. I'm not sure if you've noticed, and if you haven't, you probably didn't think about it, but shows have increasingly gotten more complex. Back when I first started this job 2 decades ago, over 20 years ago, there still were times people were using slides. I mean, literally slides, photographic slides. People were using overhead projectors. Then gradually people started coming in with PowerPoint on CD discs, and all the troubles that went with that. Gradually over the years, people started coming in with their files in PowerPoint and on a flash drive. But the thing is nowadays it's almost impossible for a speaker to make a presentation if the PowerPoint's not there. They need more technology. They need more tools, more tricks, more flim-flam, more to make things happen. We have one of our clients that is always saying, "Can we up the show? Can we upgrade our show to make it look nicer?" Of course, then we start giving them a list of gear that we needed to do this upgrade, and then they say, "Oh, can't afford it," and we end up back to a very plain show. So, yes, we can make a show look good. And we can even do things for shows that make things look good that don't cost much extra, or if anything. And a lot of that depends upon the show technician, me. I'm a show technician. That's what I do for a living, and I make it possible for an event to happen as smoothly and successfully as possible. Sometimes a client needs a lot of extra hand-holding. They need a little guidance. They need a little assistance. The complexity of the show, even if the show is super simple, it still gets complex. So usually the event starts with the person who answers the phone at the office. These are our admin people, or in my case, my boss most of the time, takes the call. "We're having an event." And my boss has to fish out what kind of things the people are having. How many people, what room, what's the location, what's the date, what's the time. And start fishing out what they want and what they need. Because nobody really wants an event that has full of technology and they have no idea what it is. I've done far too many events where they've thrown technology at it and then they get there and never mind. Now here's a problem that happens though. As time moves on, events get more complex, and the client starts to tell the office staff, the sales staff, more what they're planning to do. And they have this discussion back and forth and wonderful ideas. And suddenly it comes time for the event. And the show technician who is hired strictly for the event, we often don't get involved in the event until we arrive at the door. We often don't have any idea what we're doing. And so oftentimes the show technician shows up and has no idea what they're doing. They walk in and they see equipment set up and they say, "Oh, I'm doing a PowerPoint. I'm doing a sound system. I'm doing microphones. Oh, I've got a camera." But not always. Now, sometimes the events are simple enough that a good show technician can walk in the door and immediately make it run. This is a problem, and I'm sorry, this is where my soapbox pulls out and I start to preach. Oftentimes, the more complex the show, the more you need to bring the tech in on the discussion. Even if all you're doing is copying them notes from the event so that they don't walk in totally surprised. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into an event where I have no idea what I'm about to do. It's scary, really scary. Yeah. Now, I'll give you an example of an event. I happened to be involved with this client because my boss was away, and so I happened to be involved with setting up this client. And they told me what they wanted, and I sent them an estimate of the full meal deal, as I call it. All the gear, projectors, microphones, mixers, and everything, cameras, and all this other stuff. I sent them a whole full package meal deal. Now, they were a non-profit, and I knew that they were going to balk at the price. They really didn't want to look at this multi-thousand-dollar event for their event. They didn't want to get into it. So I knew I needed to do something. So what I did is I put the full meal deal. I put a whole bundle together, and then I gave them a discount. Put 25% discount. I called it a non-profit group, charity group discount. They saw the discount, and they started to go hum and haw, and they were going to go through, and I knew what they were going to pick on. I knew they were going to take things away, and I knew that by the time we were done, we would end up with a show that was crippled and not operating very well. So the discount actually made them go, okay, let's go for it. And as I told my boss when he got back from his holiday, I said, you know, the full meal deal, even with the discount, we earned at least $1,000 more than if they had nitpicked on the billing, nitpicked on the pricing, the gear list. We would have ended up $1,000 less. I actually made him, well, at least the gross income was $1,000 more. I think he was impressed. I don't know. But that is rare. But you see, because I was involved early, because I was also the show tech along with two others, we actually had 3 technicians in that event. Because I was involved early, when the show happened with almost no problems. In fact, they threw us 2 or 3 surprises of what they were going to do. We didn't know were going to happen. 2 or 3 surprises were added in, and because we had the full meal deal, we had all that gear, we were able to add in these surprise things happen. And they walked away at the end of the day happy. They sent us one of those letters that say, thank you very much. We appreciate the work that Paul did and his crew, blah, 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 blah. You always love to get those. You like to get those letters that people saying, wonderful show. Now, we don't get involved with this very often. Now, one of the things I have done personally is that I keep in touch with my clients. Like, for example, if an event happens every year, I take photographs of the event and I make notes so that when next year rolls around, I don't have to remember what happened. This head's getting a little bit older, and so I don't always remember things. But I go back and I look at the notes for the event, and I look at the photographs, and I say, yes, I remember. This is how we did that. Now, not very many technicians do, so maybe this is a little trick you might want to think about for your ideas as a show technician. Maybe a tip is, why don't you take notes? Here's a tip. As I said, this channel is all about tips and tricks for AV technician. Here's a tip. If there's an idea that this event could happen again next year or some point in the future, take notes. Take photographs of the setup, of the room, and then when you have to do the event in the following year, and you hopefully will get assigned it, you've got the notes and you got the photos. And if you're generous, you could pass it on to the company. If the company wants to, then pass it on to the company, and they in turn will have it available for the technician who will do the event in the future. That's just a little tip. I do it for some of the bigger events that I do every year. So here I'm sort of rambling, but it's sort of where things are headed in this whole thing. Is clients are nervous. When they want to plan an event, sometimes they just don't know what they're asking for. Sometimes they need to have multiple meetings and they'd like the show technician involved. And that's rare, again, because the show technician is not involved until they actually do the event. But we've had show technicians come into a call, a Zoom call with the client, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But that happens sometimes when events, they're high importance to the client. And so they really want the hand holding. So I think I'm going to get off my soapbox and stop talking because, you know, you are different than me. I am an AV technician that really cares about my conveners, make sure the event, as I use the expression, the show must go on. Even if we've got something broken down, if I can find a way to go around the broken piece and make the show happen, that's what I do. Okay, off the soapbox. That's enough for this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to keep up with the videos that I'll be adding on over the next while. Like this video if you think it was good. And don't forget to make comments below. This is a channel of tips and tricks for AV technicians. I'm Paul Donovan. Thank you for watching and have a great day.